And here we go again. And there we go. Welcome back to Save My EU, and welcome back to the exciting world of boring political analysis. I hope you will have very much fun here. But all fun about fun making and boredom aside, I have decided that it's going to be time to take a tough subject today. So, without much more going around it or giving myself excuses for delay, today's topic is immigration. Let's see what we can get done with this subject. There is certainly no lack of talk about immigration. Certain parties feel that that is the only thing we should talk about in the EU elections. Other parties feel that we should be very quiet about it and not let the other unwanted parties make a big talk about it. But it is there. It is an issue we cannot avoid. I am suggesting that we take into this a method of putting some cornerstones. Let's find a few things which I believe that a very large majority of people approve, perhaps 90%, hopefully more, but some ground rules that'll help us get into the matter. And I've drawn them down here, well, written with a computer keyboard because my handwriting is horrible, as you may see soon. Let's take a look. So, immigration cornerstones. One thing that's spoken of a lot and often is that we have to close the borders, let nobody in. I say no. We have to accept as a cornerstone that we cannot close the borders entirely. It's unrealistic to think that we can just, that's that. While, now, just for the sake of argument, my friends, for the sake of argument, assuming that was legally possible, I don't believe we could ever have any kind of majority, not even a tiny majority, or even any notable group of people who would agree that just shut down everything, close everything down. I don't think that's realistic. But let's move on. Of course, the other point which I'd like to see, well, which we see, let everyone in, just everyone can come in, no limits whatsoever. Same thing here. I don't think that's realistic. The potential for migration, in this case, let's just talk about asylum seekers. The potential is humongous. We saw in 2015 that the potential is very large, and we can see from growth forecasts, population growth forecasts, that the potential is in the tens of millions now, and it is only rising. Thus, we can say safely that it's in no way realistic that we can let in everyone. Okay, third cornerstone. There has been a lot of talk that the EU should just push people into various countries to even the burden, but this also, okay, that's really bad handwriting, really bad cross marking, but I don't think that we can force countries to accept people. I don't think there's any kind of legal precedent. We would have to change the EU in huge ways for the idea that we could just tell them that you must accept these people into your sovereign independent country. If those people are not residents of that country, I don't see how this could ever be possible. So we should just accept that we cannot push people into countries. All right, one more. This is not going to get checkboxes on it, obviously, but I would like to suggest as a cornerstone that it is unacceptable that people die when coming to the EU, drown in the Mediterranean or else. I suggest that in this form, these 4 pointers are a good basis. Let's whatever kind of arguments we make, whatever kind of solutions we make, we can work on these 4 assumptions. But there's also more. I would also like to add immigration facts here. Some things we must accept, that a few things just are as they are. They're probably very obvious, but I think a little bit of reminding is in order. So here we go. Let's go through these quickly. Number 1, there is money to be made in immigration and asylum seeker businesses. We have seen, there have been cases, I know here in Finland and in other countries, that there are organizations, both corporate and non-profit, and also goodwill organizations, like in Finland. Unfortunately, the Red Cross had a carte blanche deal, and well, let's just say they took a lot of public money and they used it quite irresponsibly, and they paid themselves very good bonuses. So there's money in the immigration and asylum seeker business, and we must accept that there are financial interests and that people are greedy. Going to the point 2, people are people. There is no asylum seeker typical subject A. There are all kinds of people, both here in the business, as voters, as with asylum seekers. There will be all kinds of people. People are not perfect. I would also like to add the point, even though there are some discussions about this, but the point is, as it is right now, and as it will be in the foreseeable future, the borders between Schengen countries are open. People can move from country to country. While some border checks have been suggested, have been implemented at times, trade must flow rather freely between country to country. This means we cannot go back to the heavy border checks because, well, our economy cannot afford that, and I don't think the people would very much like that either. And this is something that's been a huge part of the Brexit discussions as well, how the border controls are going to cause a lot of damage to business. So let's just accept the Schengen borders are open. Another very obvious point, good intentions, to be frank, good intentions sometimes aren't worth jack. Okay. For example, if you increase patrolling in the Mediterranean for the very, very good and noble intention of rescuing people, the fact is that encourages more human traffickers to put more people into worse boats, which causes more death. Thus, just blindly reacting to one point may cause another problem in the end. So good intentions alone, that I just don't value them if they cause bad things in the end. If the net result is more dying, then I'm sorry, but that good intention, I'm not going to put much value on it. And finally, there are 2 lessons which I would like to point out from Australia. Critics of immigration always speak about one point in Australia. That one point, of course, being that when nobody can get asylum by sailing into Australia, then people will not take that risk for their lives and will not drown in the sea. That's a fact. However, and I emphasize there is another point, just declaring all your problems to be the problems of a third country, delegating your asylum seeker issues to another country, that is not acceptable. I mean, I emphasize here again, 2 lessons from Australia. If they just toss all the asylum seekers into a third country and hope that they do good, it didn't happen. It did not happen. There was a lot of abuse, and unfortunately we have seen this in the EU as well. The deal with Turkey, while probably being the least bad of all bad options, people there are not treated well. Turkey is not capable of humanely handling all the immigration. it doesn't seem to be an issue of money. I think there's also some will, there are some other interests, but we have to take the responsibility. Okay. So we have these cornerstones here, and we have these facts, and then we have the question. If all cannot come, then we must choose. If it is accepted as a fact, and I think it can be, that we cannot accept everyone coming to the EU, that means some can come to the EU. That means we have to choose. Choosing, I think, has to be involved with, but not limited by, a point system. Now, I did think a little bit, is it really fair to judge people on points? But the fact is we do that all the time. Babies, when born, are given points. We get points, point systems in schools, in jobs. Pretty much all varieties of life, we have some kind of point system. But as long as we don't use that to judge people, to deem them unwanted, I think it's a good tool. So let me introduce you to my concept here, which I call the carrot and the carrot. Okay. Here we have person A. Now you see these 3 plus signs here. This person has skills in a European language. He has proven skills in, say, carpentry, and is in good health. So general good points. This is someone that countries would want. So okay, we would need a center. Probably have to go back a little bit. For this to work, we need, of course, a center of processing. I think that can be outside the EU because a lot of political agreement seems to be towards that direction. In which country exactly, or countries, I don't know. As long as the EU operates it, the EU is responsible that the things work there. UNHCR, of course, has to be a part of it too, but we can't delegate the well-being of the people there to a third party. This center, you could think of it as renting this area from another country. Of course, it's a little bit more involved, but the basic idea is that. In that center, we would verify the people. As we know, we've had a lot of problems verifying who people are. Some are who they claim they are, but people are people. There are also those with bad intentions, even those who might be guilty of war crimes. We need to identify the people. That could be done there. Verify, like if a person has language skills, we can verify that, so we can put the plus mark there. And we know it means something. We can verify skills, say, I'm good at welding. Okay, there's a chance to test that and prove, okay, this person really can do welding. Good, there's a lot of shipbuilding industries, for example, that might need those kinds of skills. So get the numbers down on these people. Allow them a chance to learn more. So let the center take care of handling a lot of paperwork while also be handled humanely. Okay, so the center has done its work. Let's get back to this pointer. And the center has given this person 3 stars or 3 plus points, whatever the way the scoring is. So country A here, in our example, right here, this is country A. As you can see, we'll accept this person, they will choose, and okay, they get a skilled immigrant. And of course, that's that. That's a good thing for this country because they're looking for these kinds of skills specifically and they're getting it. How the country handles the details, I think, is up to the countries, each country in themselves, naturally. They might say that, okay, you have 3 months time to prove your skills. We found you a job. We found you a place to live. You can go there. And we'll look at it for 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. Whatever the country's methodology is. If it works out, great, we're going to extend your stay. And at some point, after it's been extended a while, it can be changed into permanent and given additional rights, for example. Or if it doesn't work out, then the person can be returned there to the processing center. And I think there should also be levels there. If a person just doesn't get along, the job doesn't work out, or even the company goes bankrupt, you might be returned to the center but doesn't get any minus points for it. You can just try and apply again. Maybe gain some further skills there to advance or improve on the language, whatever. Of course, if the person is guilty of a violent crime, then that will be marked back to the center, but unfortunately not able to apply to the EU again for some time or permanently, because it has to be fair in this sense. But okay, we know the example here of this example person A into country A. But say we have a person, negative points. This could be a person who suffered trauma in war, may have lost one hand, or and otherwise is in need of a lot of services. Naturally can contribute to society, but will require more resources and more help here. And this is what we do. Then the EU comes in and gives this country right there, country B, as you can see, some money and takes part in these extra costs. So the carrot A is a person that's verified to have good skills, is someone who is very much wanted in that country and can contribute greatly. A goes there, and the country gains, the immigrant gains. Everyone's a winner. In case B, the person needs help, needs more resources, but again, the carrot and the carrot, the EU offers funds to help with the integration of that person, whatever resources may be needed. So in this case, countries who want to emphasize more on the humanitarian side, they have a good reason for it, and the countries that just like need more workforce can look at that side. Asylum seeker or not, they can still be great workers, even if they're not technically work-based immigrants. I think the end result matters, not the title there. Okay, so I think this package could provide a fair and balanced way at looking at asylum seekers. Not everyone, not no one, with a fair system, and that focuses also on countries' independence, gives them that chance. Doesn't delegate responsibility from the EU, even though geographically this operation will probably be outside the EU. From all I've understood from a lot of head EU speakers, that seems to be the most realistic option. So let's go with that one. A few more words here on development aid to add to the end, because that's also a part of this. I'm going to put just 2 pointers here. Number one, money, like most human resources, can be used for good or bad. And we need a little bit of honesty here. We have good cases of development aid used responsibly with good end results, but we have had cases of corruption, misuse. We've had a lot of people working in the target countries for development aid, and the stories have been, let's just say, very sad. And the money has caused a lot more problems than it's done good. We have cases from people living in these countries also saying the same story. So we cannot assume that if we put 1 million or 1 billion euros into a country that it will do some good. It might do bad. Let's not assume just the amount of euros makes it good or bad. All right? Another point. Replace money with religion. Same point. We cannot just accept blindly that supporting a religion in the target country is good or bad, or forcing our own religion either. We have a lot of religious missionary work, for example, that fights against family planning. Thus, religion is bad. Population growth is a problem. With these 2 points in mind, and how do I put this? Follow-ups. So simply put, follow-ups. Look at the results. Keep these things in mind. Emphasize these both points very well, but with this in mind, and follow-ups. look at the results. Like if our aim is to put more girls in school, increase family planning, decrease family sizes, decrease child mortality, for example, these are some numbers we can measure. If population growth is going this way and we can get it to go like this instead, good. Then we've accomplished something, the money is doing some good. If not, let's be honest and not just toss more money in. Sometimes efforts fail despite all the good efforts. Sometimes they fail because of unforeseen issues. Sometimes they, of course, are good. But let's also keep our head straight up in development aid just as much as with other points of immigration. And with that, I think I've reached the point where I don't have anything further to say on the subject, at least from this context here. I think the EU can and should have a fair immigration setup. It should be based on reality. It should be based on agreements that most of the people can agree with, ruling out the extreme opinions. I would also like, again, the press, thank you. You're doing very good work. I appreciate journalism. I want you to give the candidates a chance to answer honestly, truthfully, and in more than 10 seconds time. Let them create a narrative on immigration instead of just a declaration of it. Okay, I think that's enough boredom for this time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying awake if you did. And next time we'll see. I have a few subjects in mind. I have religion, I have Brexit, I have Russia, I have EU law, and then I have internet stuff, which should be called digitalization, but I don't like that term. We'll see what comes up next. But for now, so far, let's chew on this issue and see how I was wrong. Please do let me know how I was wrong so I can learn something too. Thank you and bye.